This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by Monster Products. The headphones on my head right now, the Monster DNAs, as well as my favorite, the Monster Elements, in on-ear, over-ear, in-ear, true wireless now, a whole variety of elements. Plus, if those aren't your style, if you're a big sports person, the iSports, there's a whole line of headphones and speakers from the little S100 to the giant Monster Blaster, and the cables and power to connect them together. There is a product to fit your needs, and you can find all of those products by going to PLUGHITZLive.com/monster. And of course, that music means that it is time for the Piltch Point with online editorial director of Laptop Magazine and Tom's Guide, Avram Piltch. And Avram, you have got one of my favorite topics of the year.
Yes. But first I have to say that I went to a Judas Priest concert last night, and it was like listening to the intro to the Piltch Point. Anyway, I was excited.
I love that you love your intro music.
Yes. You know, it's like when they have part in the concert where the lead singer comes in, rides in on a motorcycle.
Okay.
It's like, it's time for the Piltch Point. Anyway. So this time of year, we do at Laptop Mag, we do the Tech Support Showdown, where we call, email, use web support, live chat, social media to evaluate the quality of tech support that you get from the 10 most popular laptop brands. So we always, before I tell you who won and who lost, the way that we do it is we pick 3 questions, and then we try to answer them using the various means that are available. Web articles on the sports site for these companies, calling and live chatting and so on. So we see how easy is it for us to get the answer? Can we get the answer? And very often, obviously, whether it's through the live chat or through the phone, we deal with live human beings, and we get some advice that's wrong. And so that's part of the evaluation as well. What do companies know and what do they not know? And one of the things that we asked this year was about the Spectre and Meltdown vulnerability. How do I protect myself from Spectre and Meltdown? Which is not as clear-cut an answer as it could be, because you could say, well, there's some things you can do and there's some things that you can't do, and here you need to make sure that you're, that you keep all the Windows updates on hand. You check to see if you have a BIOS update, all that stuff. So most companies were fairly good about this, but some actually said things like, there's nothing you can do, or you just need to have antivirus software, which is definitely not the answer we were looking for. And then we also ask each manufacturer an individual question about that particular, that is really unique to them, the piece of software that they have, or is only on that laptop. We use a particular test laptop for each brand. We pick one out, and so our winner, as they've won, I think, every year. So sorry for the lack of suspense and excitement at the very top. Is Apple again, scoring 93 out of 100 points. Apple, it's getting to be a tougher competition for them. They're only 3 points ahead of the second place. But Apple continues to do really well because their support techs really know the operating system, really know Mac OS very well, and they know their products very well. One of the issues that you have with a lot of the PC vendors is if your question is too Windows oriented, about a setting in Windows, they may or may not know the answer. And in a couple of cases, they won't even try to answer. They'll refuse to answer because they'll say it's not their problem. It's a it's a Windows problem. Um, so that kind of separation from the company's kind of not knowing enough about the software that's on the computer is an issue. And then sometimes it's their own proprietary software. So we had a couple of companies, for example, that we asked questions about where the answer was, oh yeah, like we asked a couple of companies questions about audio software, like, oh, how do I adjust the sound profile on this? And their company installs like Bose audio software or
Mm-hmm.
one of the various audio softwares. They say, oh, there's no way to do that. Well, it's right there on your machine. So unfortunately, sometimes tech support people are not the most knowledgeable about their product. But some are. So Apple is number one. Dell and Samsung tied for number two with 90 points apiece. And Dell had a very interesting. Each one of us takes one or two of the brands to do, and I had Dell. That was my brand this year, and I have to say I had a very interesting experience with them, which I give them credit for. But as a journalist who is trying to not get caught,
Okay.
I was a little frustrated by their attentiveness. So what happens is obviously when we call these companies with a tech support problem, I don't say, hello, I'm Abram, a journalist, and I'm trying to judge you. I obviously call as like a regular user, and I don't use my real name. So with Dell, they have almost turned they don't call it this, but I'm going to call it this. They almost give you like a concierge service. 3 out of 4 times when I was dealing with them, the person offered me to send me their direct email address. So if they had any follow-up, any problems in the future, I could just contact them directly. And it wasn't their home email address, but it was a direct like email address at Dell where I could reach that person. So what happened one time, and supposedly if I called again, I might get my person. So what happened was one time, so we tested asking the questions on the phone. We tested asking the same questions on social media. We don't have you. So I tweeted at the Dell Cares Twitter my question, which was about Cortana, setting up Cortana, and whatever you do with Dell, this is actually true with almost all of the brands, they don't really want to give you an answer until you give them your serial number, your exact serial number of your exact laptop. So they tweeted back to me, "What's your service tag?" Which is the same, which is serial number.
Right.
So I tweeted back at them. A couple hours later, Vishal, the guy who I talked to like 3 days before, called me on Friday night. He said, "What's wrong? I see you filed a ticket about the same thing that you asked me about 2 days ago." I was like, I must have tweeted that 2 days ago. Sorry. And then he said, "You got to talk to my boss." And then I talked to his boss. His boss said, "Are you satisfied with your computer? Because if you're not satisfied with your computer, really let us know." And it was like, really, almost over the top. But I really don't think that they knew I was a journalist. I tried again under another name in another computer. I switched computers, and the same sorts of things happen. So you get a person, a dedicated person, I guess, at least for a while. I thought it was a time limit of like a day, but apparently not. Who is assigned to you, and they may call you back. So, I think a normal person who was not a journalist trying not to get caught would love this service. So we give them very high marks. Samsung also did a great job of answering questions. And then at the bottom of our list, we won't talk about the middle. The bottom of the list, we have a couple of MSI takes up the bottom again. Their phone support was actually pretty good, but their web support was really poor. It was really hard to get answers from their website. It had a lot of issues. Um, and We had some unfortunate issues with Razor's phone support. Um, Razor had really good web support, and when we got through to their phone support, when we got through their phone support, they gave us good answers on most of the questions that we asked. But we did have an issue with them for where their phone system was down for multiple days, and that was very concerning because there was no notice given to the users. You would call and you would be on hold for put on hold for 30 minutes, and then it would hang up. Um, and after we notified them that, hey, we experienced this, they said, oh, we were doing an upgrade and the service came back up, but but it really concerns us that that their users were not notified that their if this was a purposeful upgrade, it concerns us that there was no notice to the consumers, to the customers, that like, hey, this phone service isn't available.
Yeah.
And not, at least a message when you call saying hang up, because instead of putting you on hold for 30 minutes. So so they lost some points there, but after the phone service came back up, which you know, we hope this was just a one-time incident. We got good answers, and their web answers were good. So that's kind of our tops and bottoms. I encourage everybody to check out the story, which is on the homepage at laptopmag.com, and see how your favorite brand did on phone support. We have a lot more details than just the score there. Each brand has a detailed report card explaining exactly what happened when we called and used their website. So please check it out.
Now, I've got a question, because you mentioned that Apple has been number one for a while, which obviously, if people have been following along, we've been talking about that for a couple of years. But is Apple staying steady and the next closest are creeping up on them? Or have the other guys been staying steady and Apple's score has been creeping down over the last couple of years?
Actually, no, I think both are. I think Apple is. I think the other brands are coming up, not Apple going down. Apple's actually made some improvements too, by the way.
Good.
So they didn't always have Twitter support. Now they have Twitter support. Although, let's be honest here, it's a strange way to ask for support to tweet at some account. Like, if you really need support for something, your first stop should be the company website to see if there's an article on it. If the computer is physically, like, you have a suspicion that the computer is physically broken, like, this cannot be resolved through a new driver or changing a setting or something like that, then you probably got to call.
Right.
But I wouldn't recommend calling for just. I mean, we can't, unfortunately, create a defective computer in our lab. We would love to do that.
Sure.
Create a computer that we could, try to go through the RMA process and find out how hard it is.
Right.
But it's a little difficult because, like, we have to really do a good job of faking it, and you don't want just a computer you broke. You want one that is actually eligible for warranty service, that is defective out of the box.
Right.
So how are we going to get a computer that's defective out of the box on purpose? I don't know. So
right. Unless you had some sort of a really, really detailed relationship with a retailer like Best Buy, the chances of making that happen are pretty slim.
That would be interesting if we had a company that could, like, also, whatever, if we did that for one, we'd have to do that for all 10. Right. So it wouldn't be enough to just find, like, one HP and one Acer, and that were defective out of the box. We have to find one of each brand. So that could be, that's too much challenge. So in lieu of that, we ask questions to test their knowledge, but the kind of questions that we ask, a lot of people who are more tech savvy could find an answer on their own, but listen, you could be, extremely tech savvy, and if your monitor's broke, if the screen on your laptop's broken, it's broken. Like you know, you gotta call, and if you gotta call and get your warranty service. So, for those things, you just gotta call. But yeah, I mean, I think Apple has improved themselves in a couple of ways, and other companies are taking steps to improve themselves. I think what Dell has done, getting the more attentive service is a big deal. But we also saw some brands that were near the top slip back by offering worse questions and worse phone support this year than last. Lenovo and Acer both dropped by several points. So, so it's not, it's a moving target. You got to keep it going, and support is a cost center for these companies. A lot of them aren't really excited to do it, especially phone support. They like to kind of bury the phone number sometimes, so it's hard to find. But hey, that's part of the experience. You want to know that if push comes to shove and your product is broken, or your product, you really need help, that they're going to be there for you.
For sure.
So check this out, and I do want to put in a pitch that this Tech Support Showdown is sort of the prequel to our best and worst brands, which we expect to come out around April 15th. That is our biggest feature of the whole year, and that's where we rate each of these brands, and how they did in Tech Support Showdown is counted toward their overall brand rating. So a company that does well here has a better shot in best and worst brands, and a company that does poorly here has a worse shot. So stay tuned.
Well, Abram, as I said, it's one of my favorite features of the year. I love the detail that you guys go into on it, and it's definitely something that's an important factor to consider when buying a computer. And I'm glad that it's not Apple slipping that brought the other 3 points within. I'm glad to hear that Samsung and HP have improved to the point where they're 3 points within. So that's awesome. And as always, thank you for bringing this stuff to us. And we will talk to you about another topic from Laptop or Tom's Guide next week.